Last but not the least, I had to say that a fascinating story moving back to Africa. This time we are on the border of South Africa and Namibia. I've been told Namibia. If it's not, must be the wrong panel. Ariel is dealing with such issues of modernity and tradition, not only there but also here. And I think the take here about progress, sustainability, gatherers, hunters, and the 21st century is the best way to finish those 40 minutes of presentations. Ariel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, so my name is Ariel. I did my BA also in the Hebrew University, mixing sociology, anthropology, and environmental studies. And I also practice and teach wilderness living skills in an Israeli organization called Shomrei Hagan, Keepers of the Garden. It's an interesting organization. You'll probably get a small taste of what we do there in a few seconds. I did my internship in South Africa on the border with Botswana, close enough to the border with Namibia, in a community of Komani San people who are also known as Bushmen. So, I'll start by telling a little bit about my background, which is relevant to what I did in my internship. Knowledge and skills inspired by hunter-gatherer traditions from all around the world are currently improving my own life on a daily basis. Basically, this is something that I could talk on and on about probably some other time. But I practice and teach skills used by hunter-gatherers, at least traditionally, in order to strengthen my connection to the place and the society in which I live. And also, it helps me to build up self-reliance and to become a fully functional, contributing adult in our society, in the modern world. As you can see, I'm not alone. Me and others like me in this organization also teach groups of children and even adults who come to us because they want to incorporate the same skills into their life as well. So after years of studying and teaching wilderness living skills here in Israel, I went to the Kalahari to meet people with a true hunter-gatherer tradition. Because I had such huge appreciation for these skills and their enduring relevance for our life in the modern world, I wanted to see if they work similarly in their original context and how development attitudes were coming from local. So how development attitudes and agendas relate to these skills, and do they also see them as potential assets for community development? So I found an organization called the South African Sun Institute, which works with such communities, and secured an internship. So luckily I didn't just drop myself into the Kalahari. Because I studied hunter-gatherers, modern hunter-gatherers for a long time, I wasn't surprised when I found a community that is just as modern as it is traditional. As you can see, the Komani are no longer some romanticized desert-dwelling hunter-gatherers. Actually, they probably never really were, at least not the way we tend to grasp it. Today, the community struggles to find its place and identity within South Africa's economic, social, and political spheres, resulting in progress, but also in a lot of problems. Things like unemployment, poverty, lack of local job opportunities, severe alcoholism, which is also related to a lot of violence and poor health and health issues. There's a pretty severe social rupture going on because of the disintegration of traditional structures. And last but not least, the community is almost completely dependent on external support, and they lack any kind of self-initiative and drive. That said, traditional Bushman knowledge and skills are still very important and central to this community. Despite everything, members of the community still maintain a unique relationship with the land, and that's true also about those who are more modern than traditional and don't even remember the traditional skills. With the land and with their own heritage, and the fact that we had a common appreciation of these things gave us not only an ability to bond quickly and deeply on a personal level around these issues, but also gave me a very good ideological basis for discussing development issues in that community. So when I set out on this experience, my vision was to promote the recognition in indigenous knowledge and skills as valuable assets for modern life. The way I phrased it to myself was that tradition is not a dead relic that should be preserved. It must be allowed to live. During my time in the Kalahari, my friends in the community and I tried to mutually explore how traditional skills can be used to empower contemporary life, and also vice versa, how modern tools and skills can be used to empower traditional values. And we came up with a lot of interesting ideas. I don't have time to explain all of them now, but they are mentioned in the poster that I hang outside. So we had a lot of nice ideas, but then it's not that simple. When you examine development attitudes towards traditional knowledge and skills, two opposing trends can be seen. The first is a kind of positive recognition in indigenous knowledge as a valuable asset for development. As you can see here, there's two examples. One is UNESCO and the other is the World Bank, both acknowledging that indigenous knowledge can be very useful in development planning. But then there's the other approach also, that says, that criticizes the ineffectiveness of such skills and their apparent failure to deliver actual results. This is a quote in an article about the subject, and this is a quote of a farmer in Tanzania who says, if indigenous knowledge is so good, why is my farm so poor? In my internship, I definitely experienced both of these approaches. And as the internship progressed, and I began to go deeper into the problems, things like alcoholism and poverty, I began to experience something that I couldn't really grasp. But in my correspondence with Aya, our supervisor, I described it as something I called baseline. And this is what I wrote to her. Baseline is the way things are when everything is normal, when apparently nothing is going on. In truth, baseline is everything going on. All the processes that constantly take place, much too deep under the surface than what a quick glance can uncover. So when I arrived with plans of change and development, believing they will shift powers this way or that, am I really understanding the deep subcurrents generating the reality that I witness? Do I understand baseline well enough to successfully understand and facilitate change? The worst obstacles that I saw there, alcoholism, laziness, disparity, these are not just side notes, obstacles. They are the baseline acts, created by deep factors of history, geography, culture, and perhaps the strongest and most important of all, daily routine habits. Trying to change them is like trying to shift the course of a tidal wave. So this baseline, basically that's tradition. Traditional knowledge in its appropriate context is inherently sustainable, but when it's out of context, just as it can sustain well-being, it can also sustain problems when the context changes and you need to adapt. It can prolong dysfunctions and prevent a quicker and more effective adoption of different solutions and necessary innovations. So once again, we come back to the important conclusion that to remain relevant and effective, tradition must live. It must be allowed to change and take new shapes to match the changing reality. However, now we also see that it is equally important to acknowledge the depth and resilience of tradition, and that just as it can be important for sustainability on one hand, it can also just hinder progress on the other. Actually, I think all these terms that we throw around, tradition, sustainability, development, I think we need to be much more careful around them. Tradition isn't necessarily always good, but then also neither are sustainability them must be taken in context. And what I learned in the internship is that eventually people don't really need development or sustainability or tradition. What they need is things that make their life good. Sometimes that can be the solid and stable depth of tradition. Sometimes it's the assurance of a sustainable future. And sometimes that can be the wonderful innovations that development brings. What I think we always need to focus on is empowering people and communities to play a positive role in the world, internally and outwards. And that means seeing and understanding baseline, which is the context of local life, including indigenous solutions, defining development accordingly, not just according to our own tradition, our own baseline, which is often invisible to us. And last, as Inbar said in her presentation, that whatever is done, it must be locally led. You don't empower someone by taking their power away from them and making decisions on their behalf. They must drive their own development processes. This way, I believe, we can see more solutions that are both effective and sustainable, because they interact with the community's traditional core in a way that makes it not just an important heritage, but a living thing that powers their changing lives today.